Welcome to Behind the Transaction from RGCF. In this episode, we'll be discussing scale-up strategies by attracting private equity investment with the founders of DMJ Recruitment. The business has secured investment from Omni Partners and is now, as part of Fortes Group, is looking to expand further. To tell us more about how this transaction came about is Carl Swansbury, partner and head of corporate finance at RGCF. And on the line, we have David Press and Mark Tobias from DMJ Recruitment. Hi, everyone. So, Mark, turn to you first, and David, of course. Tell us a bit about DMJ Recruitment, where it came from, its background and the sectors you work in, and just a bit of evolution of the business.
For sure. Yeah, we set the business up 15 years ago, David and myself, and we specialise in two sort of core distinct groups. We specialise in the company secretarial sector, which is led by David, and the legal sector, which is led by me. And on the legal side, covering professional services, private practice, and companies and commerce and industry.
Excellent. Okay, so we said in my intro a bit about where we are in terms of this transaction and how it came about. But what was the trigger point, David? Where was the point where you thought attracting external investment was the route to scale the business further, and a little bit about both of you, how you went about it?
Yeah, well, Mark and I have worked very hard over the last 15 years building the business to a point where we've got very strong client relationships and a strong brand in the market. But this business was never set up as a lifestyle business. There was always an event in mind. And I think Mark and I felt we've got the company to a point where it was performing very well, but we would benefit in terms of the acceleration of the growth from outside investment and expertise. And it was at the end of 2021 when Mark and I felt it would be the right time, when we're sort of on the way up in terms of where we were in the economic cycle, the momentum we had in the business, the buy-in that we had from our staff. We felt now would be the perfect time to really accelerate that growth and do that by way of a strategic partner.
Okay, so Cole, that leads us on nicely then. So why did Omni Partners feel like the right fit for DMJ Recruitment? And tell us how this has expanded into the creation of the Fortes Group to support that scaling.
Sure, absolutely, Jamie. As David said just a moment back, the gentlemen have spent the last 15 years organically growing one of the leading company secretarial and legal staffing businesses based in London. And as a consequence, they have created a fantastic business. But of course, when we, about a year and a half ago, started talking about the future direction of travel, it was quite clear that Mark and David, not only as individuals, wanted to realise some capital value for their endeavours so far, but also wanted to give their management team the ability to exercise their EMI share options, so to become true equity participants in the business, whilst also having an ability to leverage somebody else's expertise and knowledge when it comes to not only scaling this business domestically, but I think more specifically internationally. DMJ does have an international presence currently, but of course the opportunity is far greater than the business has realised to this point. So we concluded that the right way to achieve all of those things would be to enter into a process whereby we would approach a number of private equity investors and trade partners to try and identify the partner that strategically could help Mark, David and the management team realise the full potential of DMJ Recruitment, whilst also maybe accelerating growth, certainly in some of the areas I've mentioned, specifically international. So I think we approached about 40 parties in total, and Mark and David will definitely agree when I say that was a very exhausting, very enlightening, very thought-provoking process, because every partner you meet is different. They have a different outlook, a different level of knowledge to bring to bear, a different capital structure. And fundamentally, the reason why the gentlemen decided to transact with Omni Partners LLP, I think is threefold. First of all, Omni, as a private equity house, were willing and keen to set up a new group called Fortes Group. DMJ is the first acquisition that Fortes Group has made. The ambition for Fortes Group is to become a large, multifunctional professional services staffing business that is international. So not only will Fortes go on to make multiple acquisitions. But Mark and David are now shareholders of Fortes Group alongside their management team. So they all now have a real vested interest in scaling the core DMJ business, but of course, the larger Fortes Group. I think the other thing worth mentioning is that many of the trade buyers that we met naturally look to acquire a great business, but the risk with a trade buyer, Jamie, is that you can lose your autonomy, you can lose your identity because you become part of something greater. The great thing about Omni as a partner is that they absolutely will be investing in the DMJ business, therefore meaning the business retains its identity, its independence and its autonomy. I think the final thing I'd say is that Omni partners were a really focused, very no-nonsense, very able private equity house, and as a consequence were able to transact in a really efficient way, which again for Mark and David and the other shareholders was incredibly important. So I think for all of those reasons, I think the decision Mark and David made was to ultimately progress matters with Omni.
So guys, that seems like obviously that was quite a detailed and long process to get you where you are. How helpful was it to work with Carl and his team to get you through that with them? You know, the expertise they bring, was that a real benefit to you?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's invaluable. I mean, this is the first time we've been involved in a transaction of this nature. We learned a huge amount, but there's no way we'd have got through that on our own without the guidance and support of Carl and the team, not just from a transactional basis, but also from, best way to describe it, an emotional basis. You know, when you're selling your business, you need someone on your side that you can trust and talk to about how you're feeling, as well as the nuts and bolts of transaction.
Yeah, from my perspective, look, you go into these things not really knowing what to expect, and the great thing about working with a team such as the one at Rycroft Glenton is that they guide you through that process, because it is grueling at times and it's complex. You're covering a whole sort of multitude of disciplines and areas that things that you may have dealt with many years ago that you need to bring to the surface, and deal with complexities from a legal, commercial, financial perspective that you need guidance on. So that for me kept the whole process on track. It kept us clear about what we needed to do at every stage of the process. And actually kept our spirits up when actually you start to get deal fatigue. And I think that's quite a common feeling that business owners have when they're going through a process like this.
Excellent. So, transaction's done. You're now part of Fortes Group, shareholders in this business. What's the future look like? Where's next?
Well, I mean, look, we had our first board meeting with Fortes Group a couple of weeks ago, and rarely have I come out of a 6-hour meeting feeling so energized. And I have to say, what's been great is they've put together a crack team of experts, industry experts, that are going to help us realize the potential of the business, which in turn secures the future of everybody in the business. And we've invested so much time and energy in developing the careers of everybody within our business, and we want to see where we can go with it. So our new non-exec, our new commercial director, our new CEO are all industry experts who are giving Mark and I the tools to know how to really scale up a business. So early signs are very, very exciting. Everybody's on board, and it's challenging us, but in the right way.
Excellent.
Absolutely, I would echo that. And I think for me, what it's done is, I think, sort of reinvigorate our vision for the future, and to give us that enthusiasm and excitement to take the business to the next level. And we're both very excited about the future and looking forward to what's going to happen over the coming months and years.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. That's much right. Carl, challenge for you. 60 seconds. For a business like DMJ Recruitment that are considering doing what they've done, what should a business consider?
I think, as Mark and David have absolutely succinctly said, Jamie, the key thing shareholders should do when considering how to scale a business is to not only map out what great looks like, but also ask themselves whether they have the capital, the ability, the knowledge, and the resources you need to execute. Because often, if one concludes the business doesn't, that's when you might look externally, whether that be for investment to fund growth, whether that be to help you internationalize a domestic business. That's often best done with a business that already has international operations, etc. So for sure, I think what Mark and David now are experiencing on the other side of this transaction is a step change. And they now will be seeing for the first time how you can deliver exponential growth beyond what they would ever have achieved with DMJ as a standalone, privately owned business. And that is only organic. I mean, Mark and David definitely will agree when I say that Fortes Group will be growing organically and via acquisition. And already I know that Fortes Group have 2 additional acquisitions in exclusivity, which is incredibly exciting. So from my perspective, I would suggest any shareholder group thinking about growing, developing, diversifying their business simply should just make sure they have good advisors around the table who can give them perspective they might not already have.
Excellent. Good advice. Good story. Congratulations, guys, and all the
Thank
very
you.
best for the future. Thanks very much. And please look out for more behind the transaction videos coming very soon from RGCF.